This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com. My name is Todd DeWalt, and we are all about helping construction business owners and leaders create freedom, impact, and wealth. I've got a great interview for you today with Jeremy Flaten. He is the owner of Jerco Construction in Minnesota. And here's what you're going to take away from this episode. These are some of the topics we talk about. Jeremy talks about one of the greatest perks of being a business owner that might surprise you, how Jeremy is using hockey to get young people into the skilled trades and some of the other things he's doing on that front, why you should never set goals by yourself, how Jeremy is using execution plans to create a path to success with his team. We talk about how to use social media, even if you hate social media. Jeremy shares how a business acquisition went wrong and what he learned from it. He makes the business case for keeping a clean job site. There's an interesting connection between business development and a clean job site. Jeremy talks about what happened when his team started putting systems in place, how not having SOPs, standard operating procedures, can kill a job instantly. Jeremy makes a pretty bold statement. If you're not trying to better your business every day, you probably shouldn't be in business, and he explains why. He talks about how running a business is like coaching in real life, and he also shares about how his life is different after working in our coaching program. Lots of great stuff. You're going to want to take notes for this one. Before we get into the interview, here are a couple of resources I want to share with you. If you own a construction business, I want you to imagine this. Imagine that your team is solving problems quickly with fewer mistakes and without you. In other words, they're taking ownership. Your phone is ringing a lot less with questions, you're getting a lot fewer emails, and fewer problems are landing in your lap. You have time to think, time to operate strategically and be proactive. You have time and the mental bandwidth to work on the business instead of being stuck working in it. Your projects run more smoothly. They start on time. There are fewer fires to put out, and you finish them on schedule. You know what you want your business to look like 2 years in the future, and you have a plan to get there. If that sounds good to you, I would invite you to check out my free online training workshop titled Get Out of Your Business, How to Make It Run Without You This Year. You can watch it free by going to constructionleadingedge.com/get out. Here's what you'll get out of this webinar. You'll learn your first few crucial steps if you want to spend more time working on your business instead of being stuck working in it. You'll learn 3 things you should absolutely do before you make your next hire. You'll learn a proven process to design your construction business for the future, how to motivate your team to take more ownership and solve problems without you, and a lot more. You can watch the free online training workshop at constructionleadingedge.com/get out. That's constructionleadingedge.com/GETOUT. And if you want to work with my team to systematize your construction business, go to that link, watch the video, and click the button to schedule your strategy call with my team. Are you tired of chasing down field reports? Raken's easy-to-use software helps you connect the field to the office. That way, you get the progress updates you need without wasting hours on the job. With Raken's mobile app, field crews can share updates as they build. Everything from daily reports, time-stamped photos and notes, to time cards, checklists, and production data. All that field data is turned into a professional, branded PDF report, making it easy to see and share how a project is going. With Raken's web dashboard, the office can track projects in real time and find actionable insights to improve them. Give your field crews an app they'll actually use and get the data you need to build better projects. To learn more, go to rakenapp.com. That's RAKENAPP.com. Okay, let's get into my conversation with Jeremy Flaten, owner of Jerco Construction. Enjoy. All right, Jeremy, welcome to the podcast, man. How's it?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are things in Minnesota?
Cold. We've had a long winter and a long spring. We're 6 baseball games in, and I've worn a winter jacket to each of them. So
Yeah, baseball is it's not a spring sport. I played baseball all the way through high school, and I'm in Kentucky, and it's cold in March and April. And I can only imagine do you guys have to push snow off the field to play baseball?
This spring it's been it's just been such a rainy spring. Or the dusting of snow. So you wake up to white. So it's a lot of rescheduling. But I was talking to one of the dads yesterday that his son's a pitcher, and he said that the first few games of the year he couldn't feel his hands because when he was throwing the ball he couldn't feel his grip because it was so cold. But lots of hand warmers and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I had a similar experience in high school. I think it was my first at bat of high school baseball. It was March, April. It was a night game, and I'd been sitting on the bench for an hour or so. And the coach puts me in, and I step up to the plate, and I remember it so clearly. Hit a line drive to the right side between first and second base, and I took off to first base, and I couldn't feel my feet. My feet were numb, and I fell down right there in the batter's box. And I did not hear the end of that, but somehow I made it down to first base. So anyway, let's talk about your business. You have a couple of different things, quite a few different things you're doing, but let's talk about your construction businesses, and we'll get into the work you're doing with young people, hockey, skilled trades. But let's start with your construction businesses. Talk to us about what you're up to there.
Well, I am owner of Jerco Construction. We are a full service general contractor. A lot of the stuff that we do at general contracting is smaller kitchens, remodels, decks, siding, that kind of stuff. We also, a bigger portion of our business is we are high-end framing contractors. So the South Minneapolis and the western suburbs, there's a lot of high-end homes. Lake Minnetonka is a big one of the big lakes around, and we're building anywhere from 5,000 to 12,000 square foot houses in those areas. We do some remodeling, not a ton with the framing part of it, but it's ground up. We build the house top to bottom, put the windows in, and do all that stuff. And then, like I said, the general contracting thing, it's kind of started for me as a hobby, and we are currently working our tails off to just get better at that and keep getting better to service the more local community of where our shop is. That's kind of the area that we work is just based around our shop. So
let's talk about the high-end framing, working on those really large houses. What might surprise people? What are some misconceptions or some things that might surprise people about doing that kind of work?
Are you like just a normal person or people in the trades?
People in the trades.
What's super funny is like when we bring team members on, we get a lot of experienced, quote unquote, experienced carpenters that they probably have been doing it for 10, 15 years, but they're doing a lot of the multifamily, or they're doing the high production, big national builders. The difference with the high end stuff is you might do the same thing. How you do something you do every day, but you're never going to build the same thing twice. Sometimes we have 18-foot walls. Sometimes we have 9-foot walls. We got barrel vaults. The roofs are 16, 18 pitch roofs. We're there for, I would say, a good portion of 4 to 20 weeks. On a small remodel, we're there 4 or 5 weeks. We can bang that out. But we're there. We do 3 or 4 of them a year, and we can get up towards $1.5 million to $2 million in business with just that many, just doing that few of houses.
And it seems like you're pretty well booked out with the framing work. How do you, if somebody's like, I want to get in on that, what advice would you have for them to go find that kind of work? How do you develop those relationships? Where do you do any marketing for that, or let's talk about how do you get your work, and how would you recommend somebody go about doing that?
I think it's just getting in. I started doing it as a teenager. In 2000, we started it in 2008, and my partner at the time and we were doing everything that we could just to scramble by. Before the crash, as a kid, I was working for my uncle who had a tie in there. He had a few of the bigger builders in town. And then when the housing market started coming back, I think, we were kind of just a couple guys in trucks and trailers. We didn't really, at that time, we didn't have an office. We didn't have an office staff. We didn't have all that. And it's just going out there and getting your feet wet. We got lucky, and one of my uncle's old builders called me because they were looking for carpenters. And I think 2008, it weeded a lot of the small one-man shops out of the industry. So we were lucky. We were go. We had a few subcontractors that were working for us as employees, that type of thing. And then we got, once we got a base, once we did our first, 7,000 square foot house, we started building a team, and it's been, from 2008 until today, the world has changed a lot, and building that team has been challenging. But the whole thing is you just got to put out a good product. You can't show up in raggedy old clothes. Like, you have to, in the high-end homes, you have to look the part and you have to play the part. Our job sites are one of the biggest compliments we've always gotten is how clean our job sites are. And that's, as an owner, no matter what size of the project it is, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to look, you have high-end clients that have high-end expectations, and you have to meet them or do your best to exceed them. That's kind of been our motto for the last 15 years.
And why does a clean job site and the clothes that your crew wears matter?
To me, it's a culture thing. I think, I come from a sporting background. I've been coaching youth sports for over 20 years. I played college football. And I just think how first impressions are crucial. I'm not saying that you can't fix that first impression, but things are a lot easier when you shake someone's hand and they don't prejudge you. So walking onto a clean job site, if it's a new soup that you haven't worked with, because right now soups are revolving doors. We're working with the same builders, but we're working with different job soups on each job. And it's all about first impression and organization. Lumber's expensive. So every Friday we do what we call a Friday clean, and all of our lumber is it's up off the ground or off the floor. So if it does rain, we sweep out, because, a lot of these families have little kids, we work with some older couples too that are building their last house. And for them to come anytime on Fridays over the weekend is extremely important. But a lot of times we're like I said, we're there for months, so we get to know the homeowners pretty well. And for them to come and see what's going on during the day, and to be able to walk around safely and not have to worry about stepping on a nail or tripping over this and that, it makes the whole rest of the process super simple. I mean, for cleanliness, organization, and just appearance wise, it's the only way I've ever learned. My dad used to make me sweep his shop floors when I was 8 years old because he wanted a clean shop floor. So in my mind, it's the only way.
So you have a unique vantage point being a general contractor and being a subcontractor working for other general contractors. Let's look at it from both perspectives. What do most general contractors need to do differently with their subcontractors to be more effective?
That's a really good question. And it's something that internally we've talked about for years. And it's crazy because I think the last few years with material shortage, labor, all of just COVID in general, what COVID showed our world is that if you don't all communicate regularly, like daily, and nailing the handoff is so crucial. That's a term I learned from you, and it makes total sense. It's when I started working with you, it was about nailing the handoff, and you would think as, okay, I'm a framing contractor, big deal. I'm going to go frame the house. Well, it's that simple. But the minute we started putting processes into our business, change orders were getting paid. There was less what if, how are we going to do it? There's less problems on a job site. Every day, whether it's a subcontracting job or a general contracting job, we have communication and job notes that are available to anybody at any day. And I think working for builders, for the high-end builders that we work for, they've learned to tell customers, hey, we need to wait in order to make the process better. It's still a work in progress because we got to go. But that communication up front before a job starts is so crucial. And yeah, I mean, that's right there is like, if you have if you've talked about all the information that you have at the beginning of a project, it just goes smoother. And I think for the most part, the companies that we team with, it's been a great, it's always a work in progress, but everybody's on that same page. You have to trust your team, like if you're like, for my crew, like trust amongst our team is a must. We do a lot of dangerous things around roofs. We're lifting heavy beams, running equipment, all that stuff. But it also goes like, if I'm working for a builder and they trust me, if I just call and say, hey, Joe, this is what we're dealing with. What do you think? Okay, sounds good. It's documented. Everybody knows it's there. It's an easy change then, but if you don't know a lot of stuff going into it, the project gets messy for everybody.
Yeah. So it sounds like what general contractors can do to help their trade partners be more effective is slow down on the front end, have a better handoff, gather all the information, give their trade partners more information up front. One thing I recently started talking about is this thinking trap that all of us get into, myself included, which is the JETS thinking trap, just enough to start. Like, let's just give them just enough to start, get them out there on the job site, then we'll figure it out later, right? And I've seen it done. I've done it. I've had it done to me, and it just causes all sorts of problems. So it sounds like GCs, if you want your trade partners to be more effective, give them everything they need to finish the job up front rather than just enough to start. So let's look at it from the other perspective. As a trade partner, what advice would you have for other subcontractors and trade partners so they can be more effective? And maybe it's whether that means be the trade partner of choice, make more money, be more productive with their general contractors. But what advice would you have for subcontractors or trade partners to work more effectively with general contractors?
The one thing I see is, so we've been in that high-end framing industry for 15 years. And like I said, when we started, we were just a couple guys and a couple trailers. Now we have a full office staff. We have office procedures that are followed. And what that's created is procedures in the field too, checklists in the field. The processes that you have, it's literally taken me years to try to figure out the best process for us, for my tradespeople. But once we started building it and once we started using checklists, because a lot of our checklists, the old school ways, it's in my head. I'm good at this. It's in my head. I can do it. But when you're teaching new people in your company to do something, they don't know what's in your head. So like having these documented processes that are already readily available, is it a how-to? Kind of, right? But it's just checking off and having, if so-and-so checked that off, there's a chain of command, right? So everything gets touched 2 or 3 times. And when we didn't have that, our job sites, some Fridays weren't clean and I'd get a phone call. Framing inspections, we'd miss, we got a really young crew right now. And we had a framing inspection last June, I think it was. And it was the first time that a lot of these younger people had finished a big house. Well, the inspector, when we walked through with the inspector, he's like, Jeremy, you haven't had this many checklists, or you haven't had this many items on a framing inspection in 10 years. And I'm like, well, we're with new people and we're trying to figure it out. And it was nothing major, but it's simple draft stopping. It's simple things like that. And what I found as we built these checklists, it actually became, in chronological order, it became the process for my crews to build a house from the foundation up. So it's evolved from communication checklists to all of a sudden, this is how you do it. It's a production manual. And if you start that right away, if you're starting a business, do that up front. It's taken me 15 years and I'm just starting that kind of stuff and really, really, really implementing it. And when you challenge your team and you give it to them, they might roll their eyes and hem and ha. But when you have tangible results to show them, we just had 2 framing inspections last week. There was 2 items on each of those framing inspections. And one of them was a structural question that the inspector had for the structural engineer. So really there was only 1 framing checklist on that. And my guy was on site and it was taken care of, done, no callbacks. And that's because of the processes we have, the checklists we have, the schedule that we have. So if you are starting, or if you've been in business and you haven't done that, it's a lot of work, and it's not fun work, but it's worth every hour that you spend to give it to your team, because your team has expectations then, it's like a kid in school when they have homework. Well, they have to do it. Well, it might not be swinging a hammer or pounding nails, but the end product is that much better.
Yeah. So a lot of people listening are probably thinking, yeah, I need to get my processes together. Yeah, I need to have SOPs. Yes, I need to have a training document, but damn, that seems like a lot of work. What's in it for a construction business owner to do all of that work? Freedom. How so?
Freedom. I'm still in the field multiple times a week. This morning I was at a cabinet measure walkthrough, and then at a job where our crew was doing deck rails. And I do not ever worry about the work being done to the extent that I have to question someone when I'm on site. That's someone else's job. That's Justin's job. So when I'm on site, I might see things, but I don't ever point them out unless it's really blatant. And I just kind of put it in my notebook and I bring it back to the shop. And then in our meetings, it's a teaching moment. And the reason why I say that I'm comfortable with that is because Justin knows that needs to be done. And that's the expectation of my team in the field. So it's just freedom. I don't have to worry about the quality. I say that lightheartedly because I do worry about the quality of work, but when I'm on site, there's so much other things that I can do, not having to worry about things being done right.
Right on. So let's shift gears and talk about some of the other stuff you're doing. You're pretty involved with hockey, young people, and the skilled trades, and blending all of those 3 things together. Talk about that.
Well, I have always been an advocate for, when I went to college, I was going to be a teacher. And then I found out that you could go to school for construction when I scratched that teacher idea. And I went to school for construction management. And then obviously I'm here. Throughout all of that, my wife, she likes to tell the story that while she was pregnant with all three of our kids, she has been at an out of town hockey tournament that we did not have a kid in because I was coaching. Right out of college, I started coaching hockey. Two of my kids play hockey. And I knew the correlation between sports and trades is what made me, it gave me my work ethic. It gave me structure. I always tried, when we were building our company, the structure that I knew was a football team, the hierarchy of a football team, like work hard, all of the little details about life. And so when I started coaching, I started doing that. A buddy of mine and I started a hockey program. So we have 3 or 4, this year we have 4 teams for its summer development and training. We try to bring them outside of hockey and teach them life skills that are not hockey related. So pre-COVID, I had been working with I think there was 3 or 4 of the builders that I worked through throughout the years, and we were trying to get trades back into the schools, volunteers, any way we possibly could. I literally had my first speaking my first speaking event, and the shutdown happened. The day we shut down, I was supposed to go to a school and speak to a group of kids about trades and how great of an opportunity and career it is. So during COVID, you hem and haw and you're like, I want to do it, but I can't because we just couldn't. I got an opportunity how did it even come up? I got an opportunity this fall. Our school, so the school that my kids go to, Spring Lake Park, we were at my son's counselor, meeting with my son's counselor, and somehow the trades got brought up, and his counselor said, well, we're bringing trades back into the schools. And I'm like, oh, really? Great. So I ended up hooking up with Eric, who runs it. And there's about a dozen different trade organizations, locally, that will be helping teach. Next fall, they'll have 2 trades courses. It's an intro to trades and then a more advanced trades. And then the following year, they're planning on starting they'll probably have 4 or 5 courses. I'm not sure the details. But starting that following year, we will be building a house top to bottom with high school kids. I'm highly involved with that. I'll be sitting down this summer working on some of the curriculum for those classes. So you talked about marketing, like how would I market for the framing part of things? Well, my marketing plan for the summer is to create content for our youth to see what we do and how cool it is and how gratifying it is. So usually when I'm on site in the last month or so, it's making short videos, creating content in order to show kids what we do and what the life of a tradesperson looks like and how great it is. We've had multiple employees, young guys that are in their early 20s, they come and work for us and they've bought houses, they're starting a family, one of the funnest one came to work and, Jeremy, I just signed my first loan for a truck and I didn't need my parents, So the life that we live, it's there. It's great. And my passion is to show the kids that and make them want to do what we do, because, man, when I was a kid, maybe it was how I grew up, but the trades were awesome. You got to go. I tell kids all the time, you're outside with your shirt off in the sun, watching what you're doing, building something with your hands. And at the end of the day, holy cow, the whole second floor, we built the whole second floor today, it's trying to get it into schools so that it's cool. I think high schools get a bad reputation a lot about pushing 4-year colleges. I don't disagree with that, but what have we in the trades done to promote what we do? every college has a marketing department that says, hey, come here. This is great. You can learn. You're going to learn to be an adult. You're going to learn to be an astronaut. You're going to learn to be a scientist, teacher, whatever. But if the high school has no information or input to give to the kids about what we do in the trades, is it the high school's fault? Not really. So we as an industry, we can give so much more back to the kids. And kids, I'm seeing it. Like we did a career fair a couple weeks ago, and there was probably, I would say there's probably a dozen different trade organizations there, and the kids wanted to be there. They were swarming those booths. So it's not that they don't want to do it, but they don't know what it is.
Yeah, they just don't know. That's a great point. I have my a senior in high school this year, headed off to college, and every day we're getting postcards and flyers in the mail from colleges all over the place. And they have these nice, pretty pictures showing what college life is going to be like. You're going to have friends, everybody's smiling, and showing this lifestyle, getting young people emotionally connected to the idea of going to college, making it look good. And you're right, there's this vacuum of information about the construction industry. And I agree. I think I remember the very first job site I worked on right out of college. It was a library for a small college. And I'd been there for a few months. We're putting foundations in the ground for this $8 million library. And we had 36-inch diameter drilled piers and grade beams and 16-foot high foundation walls. And it was kind of normal to me. And my dad stopped by the job site one Saturday, and I walked him around, and he was just blown away. Like, he couldn't imagine, like, how do you even do this? How do you lay this stuff out? And I was like, yeah, this is the coolest shit in the world. And
yeah,
I think we get so bogged down with the details that we forget how cool it is. We create things from nothing. I mean, you think about the construction process, like there are lines on paper, or there are bits and bytes on an AutoCAD drawing, and then there's a contract, and then stuff gets built. Literally built from nothing. And it happens every day on thousands of job sites. And it's one of the coolest jobs. But I think about, as you were talking about how letting kids know how cool it is, I'm thinking about, how are we marketing the skilled trades right now? Like, the thing I hear now is, go into the skilled trades, and that way you won't have $100,000 of debt. Like, is that go into the skilled trades so you don't get something? Like, what kind of motivation is that? I think we need to tell stories, show the cool stuff. Like, look at, this is what's going on a job site. Those job sites you drive by and you have no idea what's going on. Like, this is the cool stuff that's going on. The little details, the tools you get to use. Diamondback tool belts, I guess they're more than tool belts now, but Diamondback does a great job, like just showing the gear that you get to wear and that kind of stuff. So what advice would you give? What's one thing that every construction business in America could do very simply that would help with this? Is it, like, for example, social media posts? Is it highlight your employees? Is it show pictures of details? Like, what do you think is something simple that every construction business in America could do that would help this vacuum of information?
I think there's two simple things, and I think it's you don't have to pay a bunch of money and like create this top line content. But I know, we work with 3 different plumbers, and they're old school, but they still have a TikTok account and they have an Instagram account, and they post silly videos, of maybe a guy changing out a toilet. That's not cool, but it's cool. like in the world of YouTube, think about all the things. My dad is 72 years old and he now YouTubes how to do something. So if you create a video of someone actually doing it on site, like it's seeing that happen. So I think social media is huge. Um, as much as I like to say I don't like social media, used in the right in today's world, social media is it's not going away. It's just going to keep. My kids don't know a world without social media, so it's not going away. And I think the second thing you said, highlight your employees. Yes, like your team, even if you have 3 people in your company, 4 people, if you have 100, like everybody wants to be on a good team, and just this year we started doing a MVP for the month. We started doing team challenges and like incentivizing getting better. We are doing different things internally to work on our health, to be more safe, changing life habits. I think engaging with your team's life outside of work just a little bit is super crucial. It goes back to seeing things getting done, right? If you have someone in your team that had a health scare and your whole team rallies around and does some kind of monthly or like a move the needle challenge, and one guy starts going to the gym, one guy stops drinking Mountain Dew, one guy, maybe he quits smoking. You know what I mean? Like, but the people that you're with every day are challenging you and checking in on you. And it's kind of fun, because nobody likes to lose a challenge. So, it's all about your team, and it's about showing what you do and being proud of what you do.
Yeah, I agree. A few years ago, I was talking to somebody who hates social media. Like they couldn't stand the idea of being in front of the camera, talking about themselves, even talking about their company, just felt egotistical. And I said, all right, great. In that case, don't talk about yourself on social media. Go brag on your employees. And then when you've bragged on all of them, catching them doing a good job, and you made a social media post about them, then go brag on your trade partners. Go show the cool stuff they're doing. And think about the effect that would have on your team. Think about being part of a team where the company is appreciative, recognizing the good work you're doing, whether you're an employee or a trade partner. And then think about if you're working somewhere else and you keep seeing these social media posts like Jerco's, like these guys are always talking about their people and they highlight their people. They're making their people the hero of the story. It's not Jeremy's not the hero of the story. He's making his people the hero of the story. That's going to make those potential future employees think more highly about your company. And when they're ready to make a jump, you might be the first one they call. Another thought before I forget, somebody who's doing a good job of talking about the cool stuff framers do specifically on Instagram is Awesome Framers. Do you follow those guys?
Yeah, we talked about it at one of our calls, and I started following them. Yeah.
Those guys are great. And they have this incredible amount of content, but they just I think they have one of them has a GoPro strapped to his head, and they'll just show like, hey, we're using this tool to slide an 18-foot tall or 1,800-pound wall over a 1/4 inch. And then here's how we use this product. And this is the new nail gun. And they just have a good time. And it looks pretty cool. So yeah, I think it's a lot simpler than people think. So if you hate social media, there are a few potential things that will redeem social media that you could actually use for good instead of evil. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about one of my favorite questions, which is how has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success?
You know, in the age of, if I had, well, the old saying, if I had 20 great employees, I'd be rich. I could do twice the work, blah, 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 blah. A few years ago, we had the opportunity to acquire another framing company. And yeah, you know, it's more employees that are experienced that have been doing what we do forever. Um, we did, and it was 2.5 years of culture shock, wages being too high, learning about the numbers, um, all of the stuff that you learn, and then COVID happens. So just when you think you get out of that and you've kind of figured out, okay, we need to do a better job internally for our employees, and if our employees are type A or type B, we need to work together about that, and we have. I think the easy answer is not having the processes and having a standard operating procedure for your company can kill any job instantly. Your culture gets bad. You have to blend personalities together in order to be successful. And that was probably one of the hardest things, because I think in 2016 or 2017, we had, I think, 14 or 16 guys out in the field. And the revenue was there, and the cash flow is there because we're just jamming. Well, if you don't stop and look at the numbers and see if you're making money, the revenue doesn't matter. I've done a lot of business type coaching and that stuff, and it's always about growing revenue. I believe that you cannot successfully focus on growing revenue. You have to grow your team in order to grow profitable revenue. And if you're not checking in with your team, and that's your office team and your field team, you're going to fail, because when you go and don't pay attention to the details, you get really behind. And then all of a sudden you're sitting at your desk one night and you're like, oh crap, what am I going to do here? And that pigtails right into general contracting. If you don't have the systems in place in order to produce the work that you're trying to produce, you will fail. And there's a lot of different ways to fail, right? You can fail. The job you can be not profitable. You can have a customer that's extremely unhappy because you didn't have all your ducks in a row. You have a team that's unhappy because you didn't have all your ducks in a row. So it's having that infrastructure in order to succeed is absolutely parallel. And I don't know if it was I don't remember where I heard it, and it's nothing new, but you work for your customers and your team. They don't work for you. And I have learned that the hard way over and over again. And I made a conscious effort for 2022 to make sure that everything is team and customer driven, rather than just worrying about the day to day, like getting through the day. No, you have to have all the systems in place, and you have to do all the right things to make sure that your customers and your team are happy.
I would say that would be considered a little unconventional by some people. They would say, oh, it's my business. They work for me. But you're saying you work as a business owner, you work, and maybe even as a leader, you work for your customers and you work for your team. Is that right?
I'm trying.
So what's something else that you believe to be true about business that some might say is unconventional, maybe even a little crazy?
So I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and my dad owned a business. My uncles owned a business. A lot of my uncles owned a business. My grandfather owned a business, and they're all, for the most part, they're all in the trades. And I remember back when I first got married and we were just starting Jerco, I was young and I was able to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go have coffee with the old guys at my dad's shop before work, and then still get to the job site by 7. And we'd always talk about, my dad and Ron had a mechanic shop, an auto body shop for 30 some years. And after a couple of years, it's just the same old. It takes a few years to figure out your business. I laugh at that, and my dad and I have numerous conversations about it throughout the years. It's, if you are not trying to better your business every day, you shouldn't even try. You shouldn't even be in business, because one of the greatest perks about being a business owner is if I look at the wages that I've paid out throughout the years, it's millions of dollars. And that's far exceeds what I've made. And that's for other people. It's for other families. It's for, maybe it's not families out. It's just that person that's your team. So, in essence, if you're not trying to make your business better, why would someone want to work for you? And that's where I truly believe I need to do better every day to make my team happier. It's not about, there's probably years when you're young and, we're going to make a bunch of money. Well, it's not that simple. Like making money takes organization and communication and dedication to your people. If there's one thing that I've learned throughout the years, and that's, it goes back to coaching, right? Like if you don't care about the kids you're coaching, well, why are you doing it? Business is real life. Let's be honest. It's super real life. My kids are getting old. My son that plays hockey, he's getting older now. And all the kids that I've coached throughout the years, there's nothing more grateful, whether it's a former player or a former employee, walking up to you and shaking your hand and basically saying, "Hey coach, how you doing?" And that's the big picture for me. It's not, money is money. We all can, anybody can make money if they want to. But it's what that money means to people, I think, is the big, that's the thing that people don't realize. And if you're an entrepreneur that's just you, well, that's great, right? But if you have a team, it's not about you. Like you're the last person on, you might be the boss and you might be, everybody's looking to you for answers, but you're the last person that business cares about.
So we've been working together for, I think, over a year now, or about a year. What was the problem that you were having that led you to contact me about working together in my coaching program?
Well, I've done business coaching throughout the years, and it was never construction related. I found your podcast, just, listening to the radio all day is boring, and it's fun to hear people talk construction. That to me, that never gets old. And I found your podcast, and then I just started with your early content. That's, and the biggest thing that we had was I had all the skills and all the tools to build my team, and you had all the financial information in front of you. But I never had anybody that it was construction. I didn't have a coach like that. It was construction related. And I needed someone to, I think from day one, I told you, I want you to hold me accountable. And that's come miles in the last year. We've done a lot with all of our groups that we've met through you. A lot of it is accountability. So I think we had systems started that were running kind of half-assed. We had a staff that I didn't have the systems nailed down enough. They were functional, but they weren't good. And when I hired you, we had just kind of did a transition in our office. And I basically, about halfway through going through all of our books, re-entering, reclassifying, all of the stuff in order to have accurate financial reports and production reports and all of that stuff. We started early on your program, that got me hooked. And then, when we got into the actual coaching part of it, the systems just started coming out, and it's finding out how to build a system. A system's never complete, but being able to put a system out there that's functional, and your team knowing that if it needs to be tweaked to make it better, that's okay. But this is the system. This is how we do things. That was priceless. We can do once the team buys into the systems and the processes, they want to make it better because they can make it better by making it easier for themselves. And that's what a system's about, right? A system's about making something easier for someone. So the minute your team buys into what you're trying to do to systemize the business, they want to help you. And that was after this call here, I have my monthly meeting with my bookkeeper, and we're going over weekly, monthly, all of the month's numbers. We never used to do that. We do that. We were really good at doing team meetings, like supposed to be management meetings like once a month. Well, we were really good at doing it 3-4 times a year and then just talking about it on site. Well, now our management team knows that every other week we're at the office. So that's standard operating procedure for them now. And the handoff is better. You have more input on the handoff, and the handoff might change because of those meetings. But if you don't have the buy-in from your team because the system sucks, that's not good. So it was finishing those systems and being comfortable. I think you taught me to be comfortable publishing a system. And that was more important than the end game, because if the system's there, it can get better. But if the system's not there, it can't get better.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did that frustration feel like back then? You had some systems, but you weren't getting traction. The team wasn't buying in. What did that frustration feel like back then before we started working together?
You could probably ask Emily that. She could probably answer that question a lot better than I could.
Your wife, Emily?
It's knowing that you are either failing or succeeding in business and not knowing why or how drives a person crazy. Like if you feel like, when we're slamming and everything's good and we're like, yeah, and you can't pull up a job report and see how you're doing, that's not good business. But right now, I could pull up any one of our jobs right now and tell you the exact amount of man hours, the exact amount of expense, and the exact amount of projected profit that we have. I have a lot more time to do other things now that all I have to do is click a button and look at that. So I'm still learning how to read PLs and balance sheet, all those reports. You can always educate and you can always get better in how you use them. But when you don't have those reports to try to better things, it's the most frustrating thing in the world. And how do you explain to your team? How do you tell your team, oh, you get a raise because I think we did good this year, or I can't give you a raise because I'm not sure how we did this year. Now every quarter it's, hey guys, this is our goal. We hit it. Woohoo, celebrate. We didn't hit it. Well, why didn't we hit it? What do we need to do differently? What system didn't work? Or is there a new system that needs to be put into place? So the frustration is like it's not knowing.
So you started doing work and you clearly embraced systems. You definitely embraced the idea of an execution plan. We'll come back and talk about that. You're the king of execution plans now. But take us to the moment when you realized that the work you were doing in the coaching program, putting these systems in place, was actually working to solve those problems.
I think early on, there's probably two moments. I think the first one was at the beginning of the year when I was able to sit down with my team, have their input on our goals rather than just the office input, create them and tell them what my plan was in order to help them succeed in these goals. Because let's be honest, I'm not physically doing the work, so it's my team that has to physically put in the manual labor to achieve these goals. I think we had those systems in place at the beginning of the year so we could have that annual meeting, and I could tell them I am going to work on building our team. It's something that I've talked about for years and years and years and not done because I was doing other things. Now, mind you, I'm still doing other things. I'm still doing a lot of the admin side of things, but I have 2 to 3 days a week, depending on the week. Some weeks it's not, but for the most part, I have 2 to 3 days a week when I can focus on marketing the trades, working on getting kids in the trades, working on our human resources, like our package, like what we can offer, how we make our team's life better. So that was the first moment because I knew the systems were in place in order for me to do that. And my team had bought in. I think the second moment was after we got back from Florida when I could take all the reports because we had started a new all of our new processes. It just worked out slick where it was right around the end of the year where we were starting new jobs so we could really implement these systems on the jobs that we wanted to implement them. We had partially implemented them halfway through jobs last year. So we had a whole bunch of jobs starting, and like I said, to click a button on my computer and see exactly where we are on a job and be able to say, hey guys, we won. And that was after we got back from Florida. I could show my team that what we sat down and talked about in January, where we were and what we're going to do next to make what we did even better. It was that start, it was that launch, and then, okay, we're here. Well, then it's like, well, we need to do better. We need to do more. And they're 100% bought in. They're the vision that we create as a team now is being implemented, which is fantastic.
So next question is a two-part question. How is life different now for your team after the work you've done over the past year?
I think the most important is I think there's a genuine the team chemistry and the culture that we have created with, for the most part, a younger group of carpenters is it's awesome. Like my team, they genuinely care for each other and know that if someone takes a day off for something, they got his back or her back. We just had Kevin. He's been with me for 7 years. If I look like Kevin when I'm 65 or whatever he is, I'm going to be happy. He's just a cream of the crop. He is a great carpenter. He just beat cancer. So he was gone for 2 months doing chemo. And I would bet that someone from our team was in contact with him multiple times a week. And when he came back, it's a celebration that he's back. And we genuinely care for each other away from work. I think that's the biggest thing. And that, for me, that's the coolest thing. The rest everything else kind of falls into place after that, I believe.
And what about you? How is your life different now after the work you've done in the coaching program over the past year?
Well, I'm my own worst nightmare. I'm a squirrel. I jump around, little OCD like that. But what I feel has gotten better is at home, we had a huge well, it was right around when we started working together. We had a big life changing, a family changing event. My wife got a new job and her hours were not what my kids and I were used to. And I had to figure out a way to be more helpful with school and the kids getting to school and just at home in general. So I wasn't free to just go work like I have been for the last 20 years. And I would say 3 days a week, I drive my daughter to school. I'm picking her up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I feel like on a Monday, I have a plan for the week. The plan always doesn't happen, but every day I know what I need to get done. And for the most part, those items that need to get done every day get done. And I feel like I have more freedom. I've been able to enjoy 4 o'clock baseball games, which I never used to be able to do that. Driving my daughter to school and picking her up from school is like, if you haven't done it, do it. The stress level, I think as a business owner, I don't know if the stress level ever goes away. The stresses may change, but I don't know if that stress level is probably self-implemented. But I know for a fact I don't have to strap on a tool bag. If I want to go golfing in the morning, I can do that. And I just have to structure my day differently. I have a lot more, I don't know how to say it. A lot less guilt for doing things that I personally needed to do, which I used to not do because I was at work. So that to me is, and it's transparent to my team and it's part of it. They know that that's what it is. And they know that it's that trust thing. It's that chemistry that team thing. They know, if I can't make a meeting because I got to bring my daughter to school, that's okay. Like that's what Jeremy has to do and Jeremy will make up for it. And I feel like that's everyone in our team. If they have to do something, Emily, we have one of our carpenters named Emily. This is not my wife now, but if Emily has to go do something, she can do it and the team's got their back. So it's a great, just the weeks are blend together with everybody a lot better. And I think that chemistry and everything makes everybody happier. Like our team is genuinely, when they see each other, we're all happy because we're all in harmony together, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. So you mentioned Florida. You went through a kind of an unusual accountability challenge we called Move the Needle. It's a small group of guys and gal, I guess all guys in the coaching program. And the short version of it was 90-day goal setting and an accountability challenge called Move the Needle. What are some things that are going to move the needle for you? And you published your goals at the beginning in January. And then toward the end of March, we got together and had a live meetup, and you had to present how you did. You had to stand up in front of the group and say, these are my goals, and this is how I did. And it seemed pretty powerful. It seemed like it was it really did move the needle for people. What was the best part about the Move the Needle challenge and the live meetup for you?
I think the best part is, one, a group of guys that I've been talking to regularly for quite some time I've never met. So meeting someone that you've developed a pretty good relationship, because there's a few of the guys that throughout Move the Needle and even previous to that we've genuinely become friends and we've never met each other. So I think the coolest thing was just meeting, putting a face to a name. But the most powerful thing was the relationships and the trust that all of the people that were there having each other and only talk over the phone or see each other randomly. I mean, since we've got back from Florida, I've talked to 3 or 4 of the guys weekly. We're setting up, we used to do Zoom calls and like just talk about work and just kind of problem solve. But now we're challenging each other. Like we challenge each other and we use an execution plan or some sort of process to better each other and help each other figure out a problem, and then take it for our own business and adapt it. The relationship part of it is amazing. It's a group of people that literally are going through the same things. Like all business owners go through the same things, yes, but literally we're dealing with the same things, and it's crazy how each market, it's not that much different. Whether it's California, whether it's Kentucky, all Tennessee, Florida, we're all literally dealing with the same things with different people and different vendors. And it makes it very easy to have a relationship that becomes a friendship rather than just a business relationship. And that to me has been remarkable. It's just been awesome.
Yeah. At the beginning of most live meetups that I have, I'll draw a circle, draw a pie graph or pie chart on a big piece of paper. And half of the pie chart, I'll break it into half, and then whatever the other part, I'll have a little, like a sliver, and I'll say, this little sliver, this is probably the value you'll get from what you hear me say from the front of the room. The next chunk of value, like 25, 30% of the value, is going to be from you getting away from your business, getting away from the daily dumpster fires and detaching a little bit. And then the rest of it, the vast majority of the value you'll get from this is the relationships with the people that are there. And to be able to call or text somebody after the fact, it's what people really need. Would you agree that running a construction business is kind of lonely sometimes, kind of isolated?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I think, you say they're like, we're there when we're working and we're doing the work when we were in Florida. I think one of the coolest things is I think on Saturday when we were done, we could have all just as easy just packed up our bags and went to the bar. Well, God, did we stay there for another hour and a half, 2 hours, and we're all on our computers looking at Co-Construct and like, here's how I do this, here's how you do that. And oh crap, I got to go over to Brett now because Brett's got something cool. And we should have been done working, but we were enjoying working because it's invaluable how someone else does something that you're doing the same thing, but when you take someone else's side of it and they can show you one little intricate thing that can be mind-blowing on how your process is going to change.
Yeah.
Alex and I spent an hour and a half. We were laughing. We were an hour and a half and we wanted to stay on, but we both had something to do and we were like geeking out on Co-Construct. I don't like computers. So yeah, it's a great group of people. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And it seemed like having the group overlaid with this goal setting and accountability challenge just through jet fuel on the progress that you guys made. What was so impactful about going through that goal setting challenge with a group? Like it seemed like everybody, I work with all of you guys in that challenge, and to a person, the progress that you all made and less than 90 days was all pretty remarkable. But what was the difference? Well, what was the difference with that Move the Needle challenge that made it so powerful?
I think for me, if you go into my garage or you come into my office or even in my bathroom, in my bedroom, I'm very good at posting things that I want to do, maybe goals. I've always, every year I do set personal goals, but I think business wise and what it taught me was, business and personally, maybe you should never set goals by yourself. Like, you can work towards those goals. They might be individual goals, but I think when I told my team what I was doing, they are all like, cool, let's do it. So those goals that I had in mind, working with you and making it public to my team, it taught us it taught me how to set goals, like, and actually use them, and how to continually use them, to maybe after I think we all knew in Move the Needle we weren't going to achieve. I think the one lesson that we all learned was the goals we set are kind of ongoing. There's ongoing projects with those goals, but we had an end game and we had a date where we had to get as much as we could done. And I think for me, it showed me how to take a year into 4 quarters and decipher how to do this with my team, rather than just try to do it by myself and push the team. My goals became my team's goals, because right away when we did Move the Needle at the beginning of the year in that meeting, I said, this is what we're doing. Let's go. And now we have goals for second quarter. We have, my whole team has individual goals for the year. Actually, tomorrow we'll sit down and we'll review those goals, because one of my Move the Needle goals was to do reviews and just have like a hackathon in our human resources thing. So we took quarter one, our team took the time to sit down and write down personal goals, do self-evaluations, do peer reviews. And now we will be sitting down, like, kind of looking at the rest of the year, how it is. The personal goals that my team set were awesome. Like, and they're little, but they're changing. Matt was in here the other day and he says, Jeremy, I've been going to the gym every day before work. He goes, I got so much energy. And I'm like, and that was his goal. That's one of the goals he chose, right? It's not a goal to lose 40 pounds or something. It's just, it's a habit changer. And by having goals that everybody is aware of and on board with achieving, it was awesome. That was the most beneficial thing for me. I feel like we as a team learned to do it together and how to achieve it.
Yep, that's great. I like what you said. You should never set goals by yourself. Yeah, that's good. So let's talk about the crack the code segment. What is one specific part of your business that's working well that you feel like you've cracked the code on that you'd be willing to share about? Maybe it's not the secret sauce necessarily, but what's something you feel like is working really well for you right now?
I think we joke about my execution plan stuff now, but what that execution plan taught me is how to create a process for an individual. So with our team reviews, every one of my team members has an execution plan, and it's a journal of their journey with us. We'll sit down and, hopefully they're with us for years, and every year we're going to pick those. We're going to sit down at the beginning of the year. We're going to choose goals for them individually for each quarter, work and personal. So I think the crack the code for me, what the aha moment for me is to have that documentation that's readily available to whoever's going to use it to create their path to success. And you can use it for anything. The reason why I latched onto execution plans is because I have 17 notebooks everywhere, and I've learned to centralize all my notes into execution plans. So I have one with our management team. I have one with our office staff. I have one with my financial guy. We have now had execution plans for every job, and we've put that into Co-Construct now. We're learning Co-Construct more because we can use Co-Construct to do all that. But it holds people accountable and it gives them a path to succeed. I think it sounds simple and it sounds silly, but if you don't give one of your clients or trade partners or employees a path to succeed, you're probably not going to succeed to how you want to succeed.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, I want to be cognizant of your time. I really appreciate everything you've shared here. If people want to connect with you, follow you on social media, go to your website, apply for a job, learn more about your business, where are some places they can go?
We are on Facebook. So just look up Jerco, Jerco Construction on Facebook. We're on Instagram. It's at Jerco08. And then my all-time favorite, the one that I'm going to be pushing this year is go to Jerco on YouTube, Jerco Construction on YouTube. And a few years ago, I started a stupid little on-site daily, stupid little videos of on-site. And that's part of my Move the Needle goals, was to create more content that's better. So, the first few YouTube videos on on-site daily, you're going to see me just say, blah, 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 blah. But now there's going to be awesome content. It's going to have our teams. I told them at the beginning of the year, you guys are going to be in videos. So it's fun. And it's, it's truly what happens on site every day. There's some videos of, some cabinet meetings, some pre-construction meetings. Everything that we do within Jerco will be on site daily to show what it's like to be in the trades, in the field and in the office, all the good stuff, all the bad stuff. So on-site daily that's kind of my baby for the next year or so. So I'm super excited about that.
Very nice. Well, I will have those links in the show notes on this podcast. Jeremy, this has been fantastic. Thanks so much for taking the time to be on here and for what you're doing to get kids in the skilled trades.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I have one challenge and one request for you before you go. Here's the challenge. What is your 5-minute action item from this podcast? In other words, what is one thing you want to implement in your business or on your projects that will take you 5 minutes or less? My challenge for you is to create an action item as soon as this podcast is over and do it. Send yourself a text, send yourself an email, put it in your planner, write it down in your unicorn journal, whatever it is, but take action on something from this podcast episode so you get some real value from it. Now, here's the request. If this podcast has been valuable to you, please leave a rating and a review. Here's how to leave a review on Apple Podcasts on your iOS device. Number 1, open up the Apple Podcast app. Number 2, go to the icons at the bottom of the screen and choose search. Search for this show, Construction Leading Edge. Be sure to click on the show, not the episode. Then scroll all the way down to ratings and reviews, and finally click on write a review. These instructions will also be in the show notes. If you could leave a rating and a review, that would mean a lot to me, and it also helps get the word out there to other folks. And don't forget, if you want to get out of your business and make it run without you this year, go watch my free online training workshop at constructionleadingedge.com/get out. That's constructionleadingedge.com/GETOUT. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Todd DeWalt. I'll see you next time. Remember, every project starts in the field, and Raken's field-friendly software makes documentation easy. With Raken's mobile app, crews can document progress on the go, and you can track everything in real time right from the office. So, give your field crews an app they'll actually use and stay on top of all your projects. To learn more, go to rakenapp.com. That's RAKENAPP.com.